It's 2 a.m., the house is silent, and then you hear it. Thump, thump, thump. Your dog is scratching in the dark again, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to make it stop. Maybe you've tried everything: different shampoos, a change of food, a trip to the emergency vet at midnight because you were sure something was seriously wrong. I want you to know something before we go any further. You are not failing your dog. You simply haven't been handed the right information yet, and that changes today. I know exactly how draining this is. You've probably already spent $80 on a tiny bottle of chemical spot-on drops, or a few $100s at the clinic for allergy pills and steroid shots that quiet things down for a few weeks before the itching comes roaring right back. What if I told you that isn't the only path forward? What if the actual, lasting fix for that itch, that yeasty smell, and those fleas is already sitting in your refrigerator and your pantry right now? Hi, I'm Dr. Maren Ellison. I've spent the last 15 years in small animal practice, and in that time I've treated thousands of dogs walking through my door, scratched raw, exhausted, and honestly miserable, with owners who look just as exhausted sitting beside them. Here's what 15 years has taught me. The itchiest dogs I see almost never need another expensive bottle of chemicals to actually get better. Most of the time, we can fix this by going back to basics, understanding what's actually happening underneath the fur, and giving the body what it's been missing. Before we dive in, I want to say something to you directly. This channel exists because of people exactly like you, pet parents who refuse to just accept "that's normal" as an answer when their dog is suffering. We're slowly building a real community here together, and I would genuinely love your help getting us to 10,000 subscribers. That number isn't just a milestone for me. It represents 10,000 more dogs and cats out there getting a little more informed, careful, loving care. So if anything in this video helps your dog even a little tonight, consider subscribing for them. Alright, grab a notebook if you'd like, because today is a real masterclass. We're covering 3 things: how to put out the itch fire immediately, how to build a natural shield against fleas and ticks, and how to fix the actual root cause so this stops coming back for good. Part 1. Immediate relief. Let's start with the biology of what's happening. When a dog is intensely itchy, their skin is genuinely inflamed, hot to the touch, with microscopic tears forming from repeated scratching. Every scratch damages the skin barrier a little more, which lets in more irritants, which causes more itching. It's a vicious cycle, and our first job is simply to interrupt it. If you're looking at red, angry, weeping patches, what we call hot spots, go to your kitchen and grab unrefined, cold-pressed coconut oil. Coconut oil is rich in lauric acid, a compound with natural antibacterial and antifungal properties. Take a small scoop, warm it slightly between your fingers so it turns to liquid, and massage it directly onto the site. It cools the skin almost instantly, forms a light protective barrier over the raw tissue, and it's completely safe if your dog licks it afterward. In fact, it's genuinely nutritious for them. I had a client bring in a golden retriever a few years back with a hot spot the size of a silver dollar behind his ear, completely raw from constant scratching. We started coconut oil applications twice a day, and within 72 hours the redness had calmed dramatically, and he'd stopped bothering it entirely. Simple, cheap, and it works. But what if it's not a hot spot? What if what you're noticing instead is that unmistakable corn chip smell coming off the paws, or out of the ears? That's usually not a standard allergy at all. That's very likely a yeast overgrowth called malassezia. It thrives in warm, damp environments, exactly like the spaces between paw pads and deep inside the ear canal, and it causes intense, relentless itching. To handle this, mix equal parts apple cider vinegar and warm water in a small bowl. Apple cider vinegar shifts the skin's pH to be more acidic, and yeast simply cannot survive in that environment. Dip a cotton ball into the mixture and gently dab it between the toes or along the inner ear flap. If your dog is a heavy paw licker, you can even do a short paw soak by pouring the mixture into a shallow container and letting them stand in it for a minute or 2. One important safety note here, and please actually take this seriously: never use this vinegar mixture if the paws are already raw, open, or bleeding from chewing. Vinegar is an acid, and it will sting terribly on broken skin. Save this remedy specifically for intact skin that's simply itchy or smelly. If the itching is more full body, red, flaky skin, often after rolling around in the grass, Skip the $30 specialty dog shampoos sitting on the pet store shelf. Instead, grab plain, unsweetened breakfast oats from your pantry and grind them into a fine powder using a blender or food processor. This becomes what's called colloidal oatmeal. Draw a bath, but keep the water lukewarm to cool, never warm or hot, since heat draws blood to the surface of the skin and actually worsens inflammation, which is the exact opposite of what we want. Mix in your oatmeal powder until the water turns milky, and let your dog soak for a full 10 minutes if they'll tolerate it. Oatmeal binds to the skin and creates a soothing film that pulls heat and irritation right out of the tissue. Pat them dry gently afterward. Never rub, since rubbing reintroduces friction to already inflamed skin. And for licking that seems more like a nervous habit than a true physical itch, a large frozen carrot works beautifully as a redirect. The act of chewing releases calming endorphins in a dog's brain, gives their anxious energy somewhere productive to go, and delivers a healthy dose of vitamin A in the process. Quick question for you while we're on this first section. When's the last time you actually got down and checked between your dog's toes, or looked inside their ears, for that yeasty smell? A lot of owners tell me they've genuinely never checked. Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Part 2. Building a natural bug shield. Traditional flea and tick medications work, there's no denying that. But they generally work by circulating a low-grade neurotoxin through your dog's bloodstream. When a tick bites, it ingests that toxin and dies. It's effective, but understandably, a lot of pet parents feel uneasy about that ongoing trade-off, month after month, for their dog's entire life. If you'd like a more natural route as either a primary approach or a supplement to what you're already doing, the goal shifts to making your dog an unappealing target for parasites from the inside out. First, we change how your dog's blood actually tastes to biting insects. A small daily splash of apple cider vinegar, or a tiny pinch of turmeric blended into a little coconut oil, mixed directly into the food bowl, slightly shifts the acidity and flavor profile of the blood over time. You and your dog won't notice a thing, but a flea or tick that takes a bite will often detach and drop off almost immediately, because it simply can't tolerate the taste. Second, we make your dog genuinely harder to find in the first place. Fleas and ticks have relatively poor eyesight, so they hunt largely by scent. They're drawn to the carbon dioxide and lactic acid naturally coming off the skin. Brewer's yeast, sprinkled at about half a teaspoon over dinner for a medium-sized dog, gets absorbed into the body and slowly released back out through the skin and sweat glands over the following hours. It creates something like an invisible scent barrier. You won't notice any smell change at all, but to a flea or tick, your dog suddenly reads as bitter and unappealing, and many will simply detach and jump off before ever managing to bite. A small pinch of dried rosemary mixed into food can produce a similar mild repellent effect. And if fleas are already present and you're trying to break the cycle, raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds are absolutely worth adding into the rotation. They contain an amino acid called cucurbitin, which functions as a natural dewormer and helps disrupt the parasite life cycle as it moves through the digestive tract. Grind a spoonful in a coffee grinder and sprinkle the resulting powder over food. I want to be clear about something important here. For dogs in high-risk tick areas, especially anywhere with Lyme disease prevalence, natural methods are a wonderful supplement, but please have an honest conversation with your own vet about whether a conventional preventive should still be part of the plan. This is about giving you more tools, not about replacing sound medical advice for every situation. I remember a client whose terrier mix spent every summer covered in fleas, despite 3 different chemical treatments in a row. It turned out the family had a shaded, damp side yard that was essentially functioning as a flea nursery. We combined the brewer's yeast and pumpkin seed routine with simply keeping that section of yard mowed short and dry, and within a season the constant reinfestation basically stopped. Sometimes the environment matters just as much as what's going into the bowl. So take a walk around your own yard sometime this week and notice where the shady, moist patches are. Those spots are exactly where fleas thrive and lay their eggs, and even a small change there compounds everything else we're doing today. Part 3. Fixing the root cause. Here's the piece most pet parents are never actually told. Chronic, recurring itching very rarely starts on the skin. It starts in the gut. A lot of commercial dry foods are loaded with cheap, heavy carbohydrates. Corn, wheat, starchy fillers used to bind the kibble together. And those starches convert quickly into sugar once inside the body. Sugar is exactly what feeds the yeast and bacteria that are driving that itch and that corn chip smell in the first place. Over time, a diet built primarily around these ingredients can lead to an imbalanced gut, sometimes referred to as leaky gut, where the immune system stays locked in a constant state of high alert. It starts overreacting to completely ordinary things: grass pollen, dust mites, everyday environmental allergens, and that overreaction very often shows up on the skin as redness, inflammation, and relentless itching. To fix this at the source, we introduce probiotics. A spoonful of plain, unsweetened kefir, plain yogurt, or pure pumpkin puree mixed into the daily food bowl helps rebuild a healthy layer of protective bacteria throughout the digestive tract. This calms the immune system down, reduces the overreaction to allergens, and cuts off the sugar supply feeding that awful yeast. Here is a critical safety warning, and I genuinely need you to pause and go check this today. Read the ingredient label on any yogurt or kefir before giving it to your dog. You're looking specifically for xylitol, which is sometimes listed under the alternate name birch sugar. It is highly toxic to dogs. Even a microscopic amount can trigger liver failure. Only ever use products that are 100% plain, unsweetened, with zero artificial sweeteners of any kind. I had a case a couple of years ago involving a young lab mix who'd been chronically itchy since puppyhood, cycling through allergy medication after allergy medication, with only partial relief each time. When we finally sat down and reviewed her diet in detail, it was almost entirely a corn and wheat-based budget kibble. We didn't even change the brand entirely. We simply added a spoonful of plain kefir to every meal and swapped in the omega-3 routine I'll cover in a moment. 6 weeks later, her owner sent me a video of her sleeping through an entire night for what she said was the first time in over a year. The medication had been managing symptoms the whole time. The gut work is what actually resolved the underlying problem. The final internal piece is about building genuinely resilient skin from the inside. Your dog's body actually replaces its entire outer layer of skin roughly every 3 weeks, which means you have a real, recurring opportunity to help build something stronger each time. But skin cells are made largely of fat, and if your dog's diet is consistently short on quality omega-3s, that new skin comes in thin, dry, and easy for parasites to bite straight through. Twice a week, mash a small sardine packed in water with no added salt into the food bowl for a strong, natural dose of omega-3 fatty acids. If your dog isn't a fan of fish, a plain cooked egg works nearly as well. Homemade bone broth is another excellent option here too. Just be sure to make it yourself using plain chicken or beef bones simmered in water, since store-bought versions are frequently seasoned with onion and garlic, both of which are toxic to dogs. Putting it all together. I know that's a lot of information to take in. Apple cider vinegar, coconut oil, oatmeal, brewer's yeast, pumpkin seeds, kefir, sardines, turmeric, rosemary. Please don't try to introduce all of it into your dog's bowl tonight. Adding too many new ingredients all at once is the fastest way to a stomach upset, and I promise you that's not the outcome either of us wants. Instead, use a simple weekly rotation. Pick one skin builder for that day, one gut helper, and one bug repellent, and rotate them gradually through the week, rather than stacking everything at once. It takes about 10 extra seconds of prep each morning, and with consistency, most owners start noticing real, visible changes within 2 to 3 weeks. Dealing with chronic itching, or an ongoing flea problem, is genuinely one of the harder parts of being a pet parent. It can leave you feeling completely helpless, watching your best friend suffer through something you can't simply explain away to them. But the fact that you're here, right now, learning and looking for a better answer, already puts your dog ahead of most. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Is it the itching or the fleas giving you the harder time right now? And be honest with me. When's the last time you actually had a vet take a close, careful look at their skin, rather than just a quick glance during a routine visit? I read every single comment, and I genuinely love seeing this community show up for each other and swap what's actually working for their own dogs. If this helped you even a little tonight, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that safe, honest, straightforward veterinary advice like this deserves to reach more pet parents who need it. And if you'd like to help us reach that 10,000 subscriber goal together, go ahead and hit subscribe. Every single one of you joining this community means another dog or cat somewhere getting a little more informed care. I'm Dr. Maren Ellison. Give your dog a gentle scratch behind the ears for me tonight, and I'll see you in the next one.